there. I hope everybody's doing well today. It's so nice to chat to you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jackie. I am a lawyer in the professional world in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I am also a trained life coach and I coach people one-on-one. So I thought today would be a really interesting topic to talk about my running journey, which has been disastrous for the last 34 and a half years. Maybe that's an exaggeration. I probably only started running when I was about 5 or 6. So call it like 29 and a half years or so. And I just think it's something that so many people struggle with, but it doesn't really get spoken about a lot because, especially in South Africa, there are so many really amazing and equipped runners. And I've noticed it particularly with my husband, who is a very good runner. He runs the comrades and ultra marathons and all sorts of things. And it just has always felt like a really unattainable space for me to be a good runner. By way of background, I'm a ballet dancer. So I've done ballet since I was about 4 and just could never really hack this running thing. And obviously lockdown has made us all appreciate, physical exercise and being able to get outside and run. And it's really a privilege to be able to run, as I think so many of us have realized. But the really big catalytic turning point for me with running was actually being pregnant and just not even having the capability to just move in the way that I would be ordinarily able to move. And I sort of took a vow at that time when I was pregnant that I was going to really figure out how to get better at running, because it was just such an absolute privilege to be able to move in that way. So I then ended up nursing my toddler for 18 months, which was a very long time. And I, just as a result of that, a lot of things were really tough to do in terms of it was really a difficult thing for me to go to ballet class in between my schedule with working and being a full mom and whatnot. So in December, January, I bought a fitness watch. I don't even know which one it was now. And I started giving it a go. And what really started to come up for me a lot is actually the psychology around running and why I had been struggling so much with it up until this point. And so I think, this is probably not for all the seasoned runners out there who are just absolutely across this. And it's also not for every personality type, because I look at my husband who has a completely different approach to life and he has different triggers to me and different things that come up for him. But in my world, perfectionism plays a really big part in a lot of how I show up in the world. And I have, really worked through this in a lot of examples. And I think, interestingly, with so many triggers, it takes real life examples for us to really understand those triggers and work through them and find a way of doing better with the information that we then have, to let go of some of the limiting beliefs and narratives that we've attached ourselves to that really hold us back from living our best lives and reaching our full potential and really being, experiencing joy and happiness in so many different ways. So with running, what I had been doing and how I started to notice that my perfectionism was really holding me back was I just had this assumption that everybody else was really good at running and it just must be something that I'm just never going to be good at because I'm not good at it from the get-go. I mean, what an unrealistic expectation. And then I had this underlying understanding that, it would take some consistency and work and to show up and get better. But even that, I was like, okay, I've been on 4 runs, I'm not getting better, I suck at this, I'm never getting it better. And I would sort of get really frustrated and disappointed and unengaged and stop. And what I started to notice is it was one particular run that I went on with my husband, who is like literally a saint. And we were running through the Delta Park, close to our area. And I hadn't stopped at all. So I often, like, even on a 5 kilometer run, I would like start because I'd go out too hard and I'd push too hard. And then I would have to stop to regain my breath and composure and just get really frustrated, because then I'm like, oh, I can't even like run 2 or 3 kilometers down the road without stopping. And we were running in the straight, and I had actually been doing really well. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've done so well this run. You know, I've been on 2 or 3 runs, and this one's definitely going a lot better. And then my husband, sort of running behind me, said, oh, we should really start planning when you're going to enter a race. And my whole psyche just dropped. I stopped running. I shut him out because I was like, oh, like, I'm running here and now. I probably never want to do this again because I'm struggling even in this moment. Like, can you not just applaud me and congratulate me and tell me that I'm doing well now? Like, I kind of feel like you're setting me up for failure because, you know, this doesn't feel like it's good enough. So, you know, what is wrong with you? I'm just doing my best here, and now you want me to go and run a race. Like, goodness. And I stopped running and I started walking. And in that moment, like, hello, victim mentality. In that moment, I was like, oh my God, my poor husband, firstly. And secondly, I just realized the narrative that I had attached to, and just that feeling of inadequacy, which is always what perfectionism is. So perfectionism is not a pursuit of perfect, because that is usually quite unattainable. Perfectionism is a fear-based response. A fear-based response about being inadequate or not good enough, or, you know, never feeling like what you've done is going to be enough. And that often comes from a very primal wound. You know, that could be from a narrative of a parent, or a narrative of, a role model or a teacher, or even a really close friend, you know, saying, triggering that emotional response and that fear-based response that even when I'm doing my best, it's not going to be good enough. So I need to try even harder and be even better just to feel that I deserve to be here and have a place in the world. So in that moment, I realized through my victim narrative and being really angry with my husband that actually I was totally projecting, and it had nothing to do with how he was making me feel, but entirely what my own internal narrative around running and perfectionist, or being a perfectionist, was for me. So I actually started Googling and looking a lot more into the mindset around running and the thought process, and I came across some really amazing resources. But the things that have resonated the most, that I have now implemented into my running, and I'm running so much better, is to start a run easy. So I would always go out and like run really fast and push really hard and always push myself. And like, I'm talking about, it's all relative, because in comparison to other people, that was like not very hard at all. But in comparison to my ability, I was not meeting myself where I was at. I was trying to be better than I was, and I wasn't being patient or kind or gentle, holding a space for myself, or a curious space to figure out how to improve, or how I felt in that moment, or how my body felt in that moment. So I just started, I start a run now really, really gently and with a really strong narrative. And I almost have to listen to a meditation before I run almost every single time to remind myself, because my perfectionism is so ingrained. So to remind myself that I'm going to take it easy, I'm going to see how my body shows up, and I'm going to tune in. And at any moment when I feel that my breath is out of control, I'm going to pull myself back and be really disciplined about taking more care and being even more gentle. And you would think that that would probably lead to like more walking, etc. So actually not. I would often, I used to fool myself into thinking like, oh, I'm going to walk now because that is being kinder to myself. Absolute bullshit. That was just being fear-based. So since I've started approaching running in a very different way, I very seldom walk now. And when I do, it is because I have not stayed present and haven't been able to hold on to my composure. My little one just woke up, so I will be right back. Hi, that wasn't right back. There's been a couple of hours in between. But there were just 3 more things that I wanted to mention about my journey with running and how my focus and my psychological approach to it has really supported me in enjoying running and actually obtaining the benefits that just really seemed elusive previously. So people talk about a runner's high, they talk about running helping them with stress, and like none of that was true for me. I very seldom got that runner's high, and it definitely felt more stressful than helping with stress, even though I kept on being like, I know this works for other people, so like, how does it work? So anyway, the 3 things that have also just really helped with my mental approach to running is very much focusing on the purpose of the run. So one of the resources I follow speaks about every purpose has a run, and the main purpose of that run is that you want to run again. Mind blowing, I know. So again, this will not resonate with people that are good at running. It will resonate with people that show up in the world from a standpoint of needing to be perfect at everything before they even start, aka me. So anyway, the main purpose is to enjoy the run and to want to run again, which if you had asked me like even 6 months ago, that just would never have been something that I would ever be able to confidently say I was ever going to do. I'm like, yes, I want to go for a run now. Ugh. So that has been a really life-changing approach to running, and it has brought me so much joy in the last couple of months, to the point that when I go out for a run, I just don't feel any pressure. I am just going to enjoy my body and enjoy being outside and enjoy wherever I am, just be able to be in my body and the privilege of being able to move and really being present in that moment. And the main purpose is to have a good run and feel good about myself and show up for myself and be gentle and kind and ease myself into it and stay composed and stay really present with my breath, which was also something that was super hard for me to do previously. And so that when I'm done with that run, I feel proud of myself. I measure success in so many different ways now. So my measurement of success around a run revolves around the fact that I went for a run, the fact that I felt good while running, the fact that I actually held myself back and stayed disciplined in not pushing too hard. I also find a lot of success in, often I used to like run to another really weird thing about being a perfectionist and running is like I had to know the route that I was going to run, and I had to know how, what exactly it was and how long it was sort of going to take me to get home. And if we deviated from that, it was actually overwhelming. I was like, but how am I going to make it? And that's just, that's pushing me under even more pressure to, carry on running. And that narrative has completely disappeared. It's weird. So now another way that I measure success is sometimes I'll run, we'll be coming up for our house and I'll be like, actually, you know what? I'm actually feeling good and I'm keen to do, I'm keen to do another round around the neighborhood, and I'll go for another loop, not knowing exactly how long I'm going to be running for or exactly what the route is, and it doesn't matter anymore. And for me, that's like mind-blowing. So yeah, so I think in summary, just as a perfectionist, showing up with your perfectionism, acknowledging it, accepting that you're not going to be good at something from the get-go, leaning into your perfectionism and understanding it and understanding how it's going to hold you back, and then thinking about specific ways that you can support yourself through that space and go through your perfectionism to get to a place which really serves you, so that you can actually realize the benefits that other people who are not perfectionists are getting. And that has been really, really a lovely experience. And I'm super proud of myself for doing the work and figuring it out and leaning in. And I really hope that me sharing my journey as a perfectionist and how it is possible moment by moment to deconstruct a narrative and break it down and put it back together in a way that serves you is possible. I'd love to hear if you've had a similar experience, if you have any tips for me on how to get better at it. And slowly but surely, I am seeing how my running is improving. I don't really focus too much on the numbers. I really am focusing in on how I'm feeling. And just naturally, week by week, I'm getting a little bit faster and a little bit better. I will say this. I have a huge amount of gratitude and a huge amount of love for my husband, as well as all of my dear, dear friends that have run with me, who are all really good at running, or who have all been a lot better at running than I am. Just a quick anecdote. I went on a girls' weekend in February, and I still hadn't quite figured out or unlocked all this running psychology, really. And on that girls' weekend, I mean, almost everybody there was really good runners, and definitely the girls that I was running with. And one girl in particular just stuck with me the whole way, encouraged me. She knows exactly who she is. And it's people like that who, really forced me to show up with my perfectionism and interrogate it and unpin it a little bit in my running, because they just stood by me and helped me through it and showed me that it was possible to enjoy a run. So thank you to all of you, and check in, let me know how you, what your thoughts are, how this made you feel. If it's anything that resonates, I'd really love to hear from you, and I hope you have a lovely, lovely day. Toodles!